Welcome everybody to Studio Chatter. I'm Craig Reeves. We're on time today, so happy Saturday. Today's guest is somebody who I not only have a ton of respect for, but she's somebody who I have personally had the privilege of really being able to call a good friend of mine. That is none other than the talented Canadian producer, songwriter, and DJ, Magda Halina. Magda Halina has quite the following on Twitch. Thousands have tuned in to watch her on Tuesday nights get people dancing in their living rooms with her amazing DJ sets. She also stays busy because she is a highly requested musical performer in the Orange County nightlife scene and has been a major attraction at some of Southern California's hottest venues. She's best known for her amazing dance and house music productions as well as her remixes. She's worked with folks like Dear Evergreen, Sam Burns, and Togetherness. I have personally learned a lot from this young lady. In this discussion, we focus far more heavily on her studies as a producer, but that isn't to take anything away from her being an exceptional songwriter and DJ. She goes deep into her philosophies on mixing and drum programming, as well as her views about life and professional relationships. Guys, I had a blast doing this interview with Magda, and I hope you guys enjoy it as well. Magda Halina, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing great. So glad to be here.
You're actually making history because you are my first foreign guest. You're the first guest. You're the first guest that isn't from America. So I actually didn't even think about that until right before we did this. So congratulations, you're making history.
Oh, wow. Okay, let's go.
Yeah, you're actually from Canada, right?
Yeah, I mean, I was born and raised in Vancouver, Canada till I was about 8 years old. But my parents are both Polish born. So I'm 100% Polish blood. They immigrated to Canada. I was born there and then they moved to America. So I guess you can call me first generation American. So I wouldn't consider myself too foreign. I've been living here most of my life.
Yeah. So one of the things that has been so exciting to see for you is the fact that I remember when you first started off on Twitch, okay, you have a big Twitch following now. It's like 3,000 followers now, right?
Yeah, I think I just hit that number.
Yeah, 3,000 followers. I remember when you had a couple of hundred and your Twitch channel grew very quickly, and seeing how it's grown has just been amazing to see. What do you think has contributed to that growth? What do you think is the secret sauce with you?
Well, I think that, with any social media really, but especially Twitch, it's the community aspect. I think that's like the most important thing. And like, I thank you so much for all your support since the very beginning, because you're like one of the few people that really kept me going and like wanting to do this. So really appreciate your support and anyone who supported me since the early days, you know, and of course I'm not even on any kind of major level, I wouldn't consider so, but I have a strong community, and I think that is, you know, the secret sauce in quotes, if you will. It's just a matter of like giving back and acknowledging the people that support you consistently, and just being appreciative and just being your truest self all the time.
You know, one of the things that I was streaming for a long time, actually kind of put it on hiatus for a little while because I just didn't have time to really do it while doing this podcast. But during the time that I was streaming, one of the things that I picked up from your channel in particular is like almost everybody that comes into the chat, you'll greet by name, right? And it's really something that I think is underappreciated, because a lot of big streamers, they don't really do that. It's kind of like people will come in, they'll say hi, but the streamer won't acknowledge them. And the fact that you will acknowledge so many times when people come into the chat. Like even when you have like 80, 90 people in the chat, you'll still acknowledge people. And I think that makes people feel good. I think overall people just want to be seen. I think that's a big part of your success, is that you make everybody feel like a somebody, you make everybody feel special.
Yeah, I think that is definitely important. Anyone, whether you're just listening and lurking or you're chatting or whatever, like I want everyone to feel welcome. I want it to create like a safe space where people feel like they can express their feelings, as long as you're not being rude or disrespectful.
But here's the thing though. I mean, I think because I know you as a person and you're like that for real. You know, that's not something you can fake, right. And I think that a lot of times people will try to, because you can tell when somebody's not being authentic. And you are the type of person anyway who really has never met a stranger. I think that's just kind of the type of person you are. And so it kind of radiates out into what you do on Twitch as well.
It definitely takes a certain personality type, just being authentic, just being not trying to put on a front or anything like that. You just got to be willing to be your goofy, dorky self or whatever and not be ashamed of that. And yeah, you just have to be kind-hearted. I think that's what's really cool about Twitch, though, is that it's all live and in the moment right now. Like you can't fake it. Like even if you try, it can be felt because you can pick up on people's mannerisms and their simple body language, and that tells you a lot about somebody. Whereas on social media, you can really choose to reflect certain aspects of your life or your personality. It's what I choose. It's the person that I choose to show you. Whereas Twitch is like, this is me. Like you get what you get.
And plus, you're streaming for a long time. Like your streams are long, and
I go for a while.
I don't want to take anything away from the fact that you are very good at what you do, whether it be producing, whether it be DJing. And so that's going to definitely help. But I think a lot of that is, but you can't fake it because you're doing it for a long time. One of the reasons that I wanted to do this podcast and I wanted it to be kind of a longer form show is because when somebody comes in and they know they're going to be doing an interview for a long time, they know they can't fake it. Like if it's like a 5-minute interview, they can fake that, right? They can give contrived answers. But when you're doing an interview or if you're streaming for a long time, it's kind of hard to fake it. Like at some point, the mask is going to slip if you are.
Absolutely. And that's a really good point. That's why I love podcasts so much. I mean, I'm a podcast listener, avid podcast listener all the time. I love digging into the minds of people and seeing what type of person someone truly is or how they really think or feel. Tells you a lot about that person in this kind of format. It's just conversation.
I hope that you've enjoyed this podcast. We've been able to, and it's funny, when I started this podcast, I did not think I'd be able to get a guest on here every week. I was like, there's no way in hell I'm going to be able to do that, but I have. So I'm very thankful that I've been able to do that. But I think a lot of people, I'm surprised that so many people want to be real. Like people know when they come on this show, they know that they can be real. They know that, they're not going to be judged or anything like that. So I think that's a lot of the reason why I haven't had too many problems getting guests. So as far as your Twitch, thank you. As far as your Twitch success, has it opened doors to other avenues for you?
Yeah, actually, it's definitely, I've been able to create many relationships with people that I would
This
have
one.
never. Yeah, this one right here. Hey,
Yeah, the fact that
exactly.
the fact that we're on this show right now, that we're both here, you know.
Yeah, you're on
doing
the other
this
side of the country. We would have never ever linked, like crossed paths, had it not been for Twitch. So
I know.
there's one example right there for you.
Mhm.
Yeah, no, and what's also crazy is like I mentioned earlier, I was born and raised in Vancouver till I was about 8. So I didn't live life as an adult in my hometown, although I have visited many times. I started my career out here. And so it's always been like a dream of mine to connect with the community in my hometown, something I've never been able to do. And it's absolutely astonishing how many DJs are from my hometown that are streaming on Twitch, are from Vancouver, Canada. Like I couldn't even believe how many streamers that I've met and like connected with this year that
Who knew there was such a great music scene in Vancouver, right?
I mean,
British Columbia.
There is. I mean, that's what you as far as like the club scene and the show scene, there isn't, I wouldn't say there is as much, it's not as strong as it is down here. That's for sure. And that might be why a lot of those artists and musicians have turned to Twitch, because it's an opportunity to connect with the whole scene down here and everywhere else around the world. But yeah, there's tons of talent coming out of there. And like most of the DJs and artists that I know from Vancouver have moved to LA, you know? But it's it's just kind of crazy. Like I can list off a handful of now I would consider them my friends, streamers that like are from my hometown. So next time I visit, I have a community to connect with out there, like in person. So I'm super excited for when I get the chance to finally visit. And so that's really exciting to me. And that also may open some doors for some possible shows in the future out in my hometown, which would just be a dream for me. I have so much family out there.
Yeah, that's you want to know you want to know one of the things I absolutely hate when people say and look, I'm guilty of saying it too, but like the whole term in real life, like, oh, these are my real life friends. Oh, I hate that. That makes me cringe. It's like, what are you kidding me? Magda is a real life friend. This is real life. Because here's the thing,
I agree
right?
With that.
Because here's the thing, right? My in-person so-called friends, a lot of them I'm not even close to, right? Some of the people that I have met online, I am way closer to some of them than members of my own family. Like there are people in my family I don't even talk to.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like there are people in my there are people in my family I don't even like. And it's like some of these people, you know, online I talk to on a regular basis, right? And it's like people can have boyfriends and girlfriends halfway around the world. Like in freaking, like you can be in a relationship with somebody who lives in Australia and you live in Atlanta, Georgia, but people can't be friends in a community that's online. It's the craziest thing. So it just makes me cringe every time people say, oh, you know, these are my real life friends.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it's like, okay, are you not a real person? Is Magda Halina not real then? Is Craig Reeves not a real person?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think I'm real. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah. And I don't care how, like, I don't know, people say this all the time, like, oh, the person I am on social media or whatever that's not really who I am. You don't really know me. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck. I can tell based on the way people interact and engage on social media. Like I think I can get good amounts of who you are, especially on Twitch. Now, like me tuning into your streams, like I knew right away, like this guy is fucking so genuine, like such a good guy, so supportive, so like honest. Like I can tell you didn't have ulterior
flattery
motives.
will get you everywhere. Yeah, flattery will get you everywhere. Keep it coming. Keep it coming.
No, but like I don't like to waste my time with people I don't feel are genuine, and like I don't care what level you are on. Like I just want to connect with people who I feel are genuine and don't have ulterior motives. And being a woman in the industry, I really have to like read. I'm constantly like scanning people like, okay, does this guy have like ulterior motives? Like what is this? What does this guy want from me? I have to deal with that a lot. So
dear God.
But I have to kind of like pick apart, like just based on the way people interact with me, even like on social media, like I can kind of tell if somebody has ulterior motives. So, I think, of course, like for a lot of people who aren't as active. I have a
very strong desire to kick somebody's ass right now. Like the more you say that, I just want to kick somebody's ass right now. I mean,
it's not even anyone.
It's like, who's saying that to my Magda Halina?
Nah, it's not even anything specific or anything like that. That's just anyone specific. It's just like, it's natural. It happens everywhere, not even just in this industry. Like it happens all the time. So, like people fake being nice or fake being flattering for ulterior motives. So, I don't know if it's just me or what, but I can read people fairly well, I think. And not all the time. Like I give people the benefit of the doubt all the time. I do understand that we're busy people and sometimes messages get ignored and but when it's a consistent thing where, like consistently, I feel like this person consistently engages in this way that just either they are not that caring or not that loving or not that genuine. And then it kind of like, I can kind of read what kind of person you are. So
you don't like being ghosted?
No, but like I said, I understand people are busy and shit happens. So like I give people the benefit of the doubt. But when it's a consistent thing that's like, wow, like I said something like super nice and loving to you and like I was totally ignored, and it's like, I don't know if I can just like keep brushing that off anymore, like that tells me a lot about who you are, I think.
I don't think anybody likes being ghosted. The thing about that is I always look at being ghosted as a form of passive aggression. You know what I mean? It's like, if you have a problem with me, I would much rather you tell me to my face,
Right.
I would rather deal with somebody who's an asshole, who just has a hot temper, who's just flying off the handle all the time, because you always know where you stand with that person. You know what I mean? You're like, because there was somebody who I worked with not long ago, and there's much to criticize about this person. I'm not working with this person anymore. We had a falling out. But the one thing that I really appreciated about this individual is that you always knew where you stood. Yeah, they were belligerent. Yeah, they were, just a complete and total jackass. But at the same time, it's like you always knew where you stood. You never had to go to sleep at night wondering, okay, did I say something to this person? See, with me, I think and I don't mean to brag. Well, I guess I do, but one of the things that I think a lot of people like about me is you never have to know where you stand with me. Never. Like if I have a problem with you, if I'm upset with you, if I had
or never
an issue
have to
with
guess, right?
Never have to guess.
Right.
Like, trust me, if I am not telling you I have a problem with you or something you did, I don't. Because if there's anything that somebody does or says that I don't like, I'm going to let them know. Okay, because that's what I would want for me. Like, I would much rather somebody be over confrontational than to just ghost me. You know what I mean? Because it says a lot about the person who does it. It's like, what, you're too scared to actually stand up for yourself and then let somebody know that they bothered you, I mean, good luck trying to survive in this business doing that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm definitely in a similar path where I'm just very honest about how I feel. And sometimes it can come off as confrontational, or it can come off as like, like I don't like someone, but maybe like honestly a lot of it's out of love. Like even to my best friends I'll be like, no, don't do that. Just straight up, like I'll just tell you straight up, like I think that that's probably not the best thing for you, and like whatever, like sometimes people want to hear it, sometimes they don't want to hear it, sometimes it bites me in the ass, but I know that the real ones understand that like I'm telling you the truth because one, I'm an honest person, like I have to be truthful, and two, it's because I love you, like I just want the best for you.
Yeah.
And
you know,
my family is very, very much like that too. There's never any like sugarcoating.
Yeah. And I think that my mother had it, she said it best to me when I was young. She would always tell me, you know, Craig, I love you enough to piss you off.
Yeah.
You know, that's really what it is.
Yeah.
And I do that with music too. Like if a friend of mine wants me to listen to their music and to give them feedback, I'm going to be honest with them. If something's not working, I'm going to tell them. 'Cause, yeah, I don't want somebody to send something out into the world. You know, it's kind of like, I don't want you to go out with your pants down, you know, and maybe, you know, maybe you don't recognize it. Like somebody loves you when they are willing to tell you when you suck. Right. You know what I mean? And everybody that I work with, I let them know, look, if I suck, you need to let me know. You know what I'm saying? Like the very first guest that I had on this show was Annie Elise. And Annie Elise and I are working together. And we have a relationship where we're very honest. Like when we're working together, it's like a lot of the session is just like, this ain't gonna work. Nope, this ain't gonna work. Like it's going back and forth saying, nah, this sucks. Nah, this is whack,
well,
dude.
See,
like,
this is kind of why I have an issue with collabing sometimes. because I'm too honest and I know what I want and some people are not ready to hear it, or like, you know, I'm of course willing to make certain sacrifices and like find a middle ground or whatever. But when I hear something and I feel strongly about it, I'm like, no, man, like I really feel strongly about this. And then I'll let it be known. And then I get ghosted on the collab and I'm like, okay, well, that was a waste of time.
People's
and that
feelings
just happens
get hurt.
all the time. Why do you think I tweeted that whole thing about like, I don't know if you saw my tweet about like being like, I'm removing vocalists out of my bio because it's so frustrating. Like I don't want to work with other producers as a vocalist unless I'm also heavily involved in the production. Like that's really important to me, and I think that a lot of producers don't understand that. So I've wasted too much time that I could have been spending on my own music. And so I'm done.
The thing is though that you had mentioned that you had really kind of removed vocalist from your bio, I guess you could say. And out of most of the producers, in fact, I think out of all the producers but Jay Herlock and Blue Cloud, you're really, and Bad Snacks, of course, you're really the first person, especially somebody who did vocals for a long time, who said that they really are more of a producer than an artist, right? Like somebody who does production, who wants to focus on that more than being a recording artist.
I mean, for me, it's like I'm a songwriter at heart. And that doesn't always mean I'm writing songs for me to sing.
Oh, no, not at all.
Yeah, like a lot of the times, like my brother likes to sing. I love working with samples. I love taking vocal hooks and transforming them into a totally new hook. That's like songwriting in itself.
Oh, yeah.
And I spent years singing, and I have a very specific tone, I think, and it doesn't always work with my ideas. And that's okay. Like sometimes I write a really cool vocal hook, but I'm just not the vocalist for that hook. Sometimes I am, sometimes I'm not. So yeah, I just think that it happens a lot where this pressure kind of gets put on me that like, oh, if I'm working with you, your vocals have to be on the track. And I'm like, I don't necessarily agree with that. I wrote a dope vocal hook, but I don't think I'm the right singer. I don't think I'm the right vocalist for this. So maybe we can work with someone else, or maybe we can find a sample or something to work around it.
Or you could, pitch it to a publisher or a label, or you could shop it. So many different options. But I think in like the dance music world, there is a pressure, I think, on women to be singers. I really believe there is.
There's that too, yeah. And
anytime, like the feature girl, right?
Mm-hmm. And anytime I have like worked on like pretty much the songs that I have out that do have my vocals on it, I was also very much involved in the production and the overall writing process. And so for me, it's frustrating to be like, if I do put my vocals on a track, it's almost as if that's all I did.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like people just wipe out the whole like, oh, like I had so much more involvement with like this was a true collaboration, just because my vocals are on the track doesn't mean that's all I did.
Dude, there are female producers right now who didn't even put their vocals on the track, and people will still ask, did you produce this? It happens so often.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Or I'll only get hit up for vocals. Like, and I get it because there's a demand for vocals. But I have a very specific style. And so I just can't commit to like, yeah, I'll be the vocalist, I can commit to like collaborating and writing a dope song, and maybe my vocals will work. Maybe they won't.
You have a really nice singing voice, but you want to know the thing that impresses me the most about your music is the freaking drum work. Like your drum programming it's unbelievable. It really is. And the mix, your mixes are so good. Like they sound so clean, and they're so like the mastering is good. Like you do all that yourself, right? And you do it in Ableton. Like, I mean, you have a really great.
So surprised that it could happen in Ableton.
Well, I mean, look,
I know. I'm just giving you a hard time because
nothing against Ableton. I like Ableton a lot. In fact, it was you that got me onto using Ableton. But it's like I have an easier time mixing in another DAW, whether it be Pro Tools, which I actually don't like. I actually don't like Pro Tools. Or Cakewalk, which is the DAW that I've been using for 20 years. But Ableton's great for a lot of things. But what really impresses me is your drum programming. I remember one night I was working on a song, and it was a dance track. And I was really wanting that Magda Halina style drum programming. And I couldn't do it. I was sitting there listening just all night, trying to imitate it, trying to get it down, but I just couldn't make my drum sound like yours, especially the hi-hats.
Oh man.
It was that Tassels remix that you did. And it's like I couldn't get it to sound right. Is drum programming something that you spent a lot of time working on?
It's so funny that you say that, and I really like it means a lot coming from you, truly, because like your technicality with mixing, like I mean, your shit is unbelievable. I
Thank you.
feel like my drum programming is my weak spot.
Wow.
Like, I mean,
I could not disagree more.
It's crazy.
Trust me,
it's
y'all.
Crazy
if y'all listen
that
to,
you would say that,
dude, if y'all listen to anything by Magda Halina, okay, just look up Magda Halina. Y'all are not going to think that her drum programming is her worst aspect. Listen to the hi-hats. Listen to the panning, dude. Okay, like the way your drums
dude.
just,
I
are just
that.
they're so clean, dude.
It's one I mean, with house music especially, like it's all about the drums and the perks. And I feel like because I'm a songwriter at heart, like for me, the melodics and the writing of the song comes more naturally than the drum programming is usually something that kind of I work, like I'll get like a foundation of drums and then I'll start throwing bass and melodies, and then I'll start adding extra like little sprinkle little percussions or like, I think I don't really do anything too complex. In fact, I'm striving to like really improve my drum programming just because, like I said, house is all about drum groove and it can really carry your track a long way. I think that sample selection is really important. Having really good samples to start off with. I think, and I'm thankful that I would have been gifted tons of amazing sample packs from producers at Icon Collective while I was there. So that definitely helps a lot. And just having the ears for selecting good samples that work with the song. I mean, something that I learned early into production, though, this was actually something that I think really changed my game with drums in general. Is tuning your drums, making sure they fit the tune, the key of your song. So your kick should realistically be like hitting the root note of like your bass line. And
I never thought about that actually.
And your hi-hats and your ride cymbals, like these things produce tones, even your snare, your claps, like these things produce tone. And it was like I came across this is when I was in FL Studio and I was watching Busyworks Beats, actually. He's like the best YouTube producer for all things FL Studio on YouTube. So I was watching his videos like mad, and this is like something that he swears by. And I think it changed my game because sometimes you find the right, find the right tone, but it's not hitting the right pitch. So like your hi-hats produce a pitch. And so if you find, like, I like to just tweak the pitch slightly just to make sure that it's hitting the right pitch. So, and with
I don't think I've ever done something like that.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever done that.
So that is something that truly, because sometimes you'll naturally select drums that are in the key of your song because they just sound right. When you're like flipping through samples, you're like, okay, yeah, like this hat fits the song. And a lot of the times that's because it's like hitting the right pitch. And the kick, especially in house, because the kick is like the driving force.
Dude,
of
your
all
kicks
things
are
house.
Unbelievable.
I tune all my kicks.
So good.
You got. I tune all my kicks and drum bus.
Do you put plugins on the sounds, or do you just kind of leave them there? Like, do you put like plugins on your drum sounds?
Yeah, I mean, usually in the group, like I'll have like definitely on my kick, I always use Ableton Drum Bus. I think it's like, you can just put it on and you'll already hear a difference.
Ableton Drum Bus, everybody.
Yeah.
That's the secret sauce.
Hell yeah. And it's a free plugin. It comes with Ableton. So it actually has like a frequency knob. So you can figure out the pitch that, like, first your kick should be hitting the right pitch. And a lot of times with house, like you're starting with a kick and you're starting with drums. Like that's usually how I work, is you start with a kick and you start with drums, and then the kick, whatever like note your kick is hitting, because it's hitting a pitch. It's a sub frequency, basically, especially in house. It's basically your bass. It will usually inspire what kind of bass line you end up writing too. But like a lot of the times,
but you don't want to. You want to make sure that your frequencies aren't clashing, though, right?
Yeah. So side chaining is really important. Like side chaining your bass to the kick, because you want the kick to be like the star in house. You want that kick to really cut through.
One of the things I didn't mean to interrupt you, but one of the things that I notice about your music is that you'll have kind of like when you do the dance music, you'll have the 4 to the floor kick drum, but your bass is actually hitting not on the downbeats, right? It's like it's not, it's off the beat, right? So it's not ever hitting at the same time the kick drum is. Is that intentional?
Yes. Yes and
because
no.
Because you don't want those frequencies to clash. Is that?
Yeah. So the kick and your bass, like the kick and bass relationship is so important, and it's really difficult to nail in house. But writing a bass line that doesn't interfere with your kick is like the easiest way to avoid having like major mixing issues down the road. And that's how you find the groove. You got to find the pocket in between the bass and in between the kick, right? So writing a bass line that complements the kick and kind of bounces off the kick like that is definitely important. But sometimes you'll have the bass hit on the downbeat, but you just throw a side chain on the bass to the kick. That way, anytime the bass does hit on the downbeat, it'll duck to make way for the kick. It doesn't completely disappear, but it ducks, and so it still pumps, and they still groove together. But yeah, like on drum bus, on the kick helps clean up the kick frequencies a bit too, but still add like a powerful punch. And so there's actually a frequency knob on drum bus so that you can actually figure out exactly what frequency or pitch your kick is hitting, and then find that frequency on drum bus and then enhance like the boom. So you're like specifically targeting the frequency at which your kick is actually hitting.
Yeah, that sounds like a transient shaper.
Yeah, and it pretty much is. There actually is like a transient knob on the drum bus too, so you can enhance the transient as well, which is also important in getting that punch.
Wow. Yeah, dude, you're giving away all the secrets, man. I love it. I love it. One of the things that you showed me a little while back, because I've learned a ton about doing pop music and dance music from you. One of the things that you really showed me was swinging your hats. Like not even like you don't have to do a lot of swing. It didn't have to be like it can be just a slight swing to your hi-hats, and it can make all the difference in the world. Do you typically do that with your dance music with the hi-hats?
Definitely. I think it's super important. I work with a lot of layers on my drums too. I think that's another thing that really, really helps bring like fullness is finding like 2 or 3 hi-hat layers that all have slightly different tones, because if they're too similar in tone, they'll phase. So they'll just like cancel each other out. So you want to find like 2 or 3 tones that are slightly different, pan them out a little bit. And then in my drum rack, or if you're working in audio, whatever, you just like can physically shift all those layers just slightly apart. So you're kind of doing like the Haas effect.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So you're kind of doing like a Haas effect. And so it creates like such a big sound with the hi-hats.
Okay, let me stop you there. I want to explain to everybody what the Haas effect is, in case some of y'all don't know. So the Haas effect, it's spelled Haas. What it is, it's similar to a delay. Well, it is a delay. And what it does is that it will take the sample that you're using, it will pan it all the way to the right, and then it'll take the same sample and pan it all the way to the left, and it'll change the pitch slightly on the left or the right and it'll also play them both at slightly different times to create kind of a stereo effect. Right. One plugin that I recommend that you can easily do this with is Waves Doubler. Waves Doubler is good, as well as Ozone Imager. It has a stereoize effect, so you can do it there. So there are plugins out there, but if you look up Haas effect, HAAS effect, and then you look up plugins, there's a lot of plugins out there to do that. Because
and you don't even necessarily need a plugin either, because you can just do it. Like I do this with the top end of my bass too. You can just do it manually. I usually do it manually with the hi-hats because I usually choose already 2 or 3 different layers. And so they already have slightly different tones, so I don't have to change them in pitch because I kind of want them to reflect a similar pitch. But because they're hitting slightly different tones, they already separate themselves. And then you just go in and physically in your MIDI or your audio, just shift them slightly, and it'll create like a really like nice, less robotic sound. And then I'll also usually take every other hat and shift it just slightly even more than the first and second hit, or first and third hit. So
and one thing I've also seen you do is you'll take all the hi-hats. Like once you've finished programming all the hi-hats, you'll take all the hi-hats and you'll very, 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 very slightly shift them forward just to add kind of that, that pocket.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, I've seen you do that quite often too. And so, yeah, crazy. I mean, yeah, so much attention to detail.
Those kinds of things are really, I think, bring a human touch to the drums. And what's awesome too about Ableton is there is a groove function too. So even sometimes I'll go that extra mile if I still feel like they feel a little too robotic. I'll throw a swing on it through the Ableton groove section.
Definitely. And all of this, yet people will listen to your music, and because you have vocals on it, she didn't produce it. She doesn't know what she's doing. She doesn't know what she's talking about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, despite all of that, right? I mean, clearly you know what you're doing, and anybody who listens to your music would know that you know what you're doing. And I've personally learned so much from you, and it's crazy. You do a lot of remixes, and you're very good at them. Why do you enjoy doing remixes so much?
I guess just whenever the opportunity presents themselves, I usually get hit up, and I like the challenge.
Are you talking about by labels?
Usually by the artists themselves. The label will ask them who they would like to have them remix the song, and then they'll hit, like, depending on what level they're on, but I haven't done any like massive remixes yet, but usually the artists themselves will reach out and I'll take the opportunity. I do a lot of remixes because they're fun. They inspire new ideas, and I just love transforming and like putting my own flavor on a song. Also, I'm still kind of like finding my sound and working on my own music. I am working on like my debut EP right now.
No way.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that.
Are you going to feature artists on it?
No, this is going to be a solo work. Because
wow, so you're going to be singing on it.
Not necessarily.
Oh, so it's going to be an instrumental.
So, I'm working with a lot of samples. I think I'm working with a lot of samples, and then I do plan to throw one on that does have my vocals too. But I kind of did have to like take a little bit of a break working working on my songs that have my own vocals. Just because,
dude, you know what I would love to see? I would love to see you do a track featuring a male artist. You want to know why? Because it completely destroys the norm.
I am working on one actually, and it features my brother's vocals.
Nice. That's what I'm talking about. Because you see all of these records with male producers featuring women. It's like, I want to see a woman featuring a man for once. Yeah. It's like, why don't we ever see that?
Yeah. So I think that's kind of like, I've been really enjoying working with other vocalists and working with samples. So, and just focusing on upping my game as a producer, because like I said, I wasted so much time. I spent so much time working with other producers and writing songs for other producers and just writing songs in general and just focusing on vocals for so long that I'm like, I really just want to get to a place where I don't have to like rely on working with other people. And I really want to be strong and comfortable as a producer myself. Mm-hmm. So I've kind of just like, because like writing lyrics, writing songs that you're proud of, like it takes a long time.
It's tough. It's so hard.
Much longer than just making a quick house record, producing a quick house record. Like I strive to make club bangers that are on the deeper side. Like my whole thing is like deep house, but make it bang, you know, like I need that like deeper melodic component to like drive the song. But I also like to make it bang a little. So that's kind of my like goal and what I strive for. But it takes a lot longer to really nail these types of songs because of the songwriting aspect. Like I just think it takes a lot longer than just producing a quick record. So I really just want to come correct, if that makes sense, you know, like I don't just want to.
Have you thought about working with other writers? Because, you know, a lot of producers, they'll work with a lot of writers and stuff like that. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I definitely have. Actually, me and my brother work really well together. He's the whole reason I started even making music. And so him and I write a lot of stuff together and we really enjoy it. And I just spent the last like month moving. I'm still settling in, you know, so my studio is not fully set up yet. But soon as it is, I plan to like get in the studio a lot more with my brother because we just work so well together and in writing, like songs. But like I said, the last year or so, couple years, really, the whole reason I kind of went to Icon too was just that I wanted to improve as a producer.
Definitely.
Like I wanted to up my game in mixing. Like I don't want to have to pay and rely on someone else to help me mix down a record. Like I want to be able to handle all of that on my own. And once
your mixes are incredible, you do not need anybody to mix your records. In fact, I've been like, you know, maybe I should get Magda to mix a couple of records, and you know, because it's not that I can't mix them myself. It's just that sometimes I don't have time to, and I don't feel like it because I don't like mixing. Believe it or not, I don't like mixing.
I don't either necessarily. It's very frustrating, grueling part of finishing music, and it's the reason a lot of music doesn't get finished. But I just want it to become second nature, and I'm kind of getting to a place now where I do the mixing process as I'm writing. Like I'll do like most of the creative stuff and then I'll start mixing down as I'm working through the song. So it's not like sample selection as you're writing plays a huge role into like the mixing process as well. So, and the writing process can help your mixing process too. Like if you just write in a way where not a lot of elements are clashing at one moment, then the mixing becomes a lot easier. Yeah. So you don't have to duck so many things to like let something shine. It's like just how can I write this in a way to where, you know, certain elements can stand out naturally.
I do find that when the sounds are good, the mixing is a lot easier.
Exactly.
When the mixing is good, the mastering is a lot easier.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like if the ingredients suck, it's very hard to make a good dish.
Totally.
You know, like when you're working with vocalists, if the recording sucks, it's very difficult to make the vocals sound good. Because like when people ask me, how do you make your vocals sound good? Well, we record them at a studio.
Yeah.
You know, that's half the battle right there, you know? So yeah, I definitely understand that. So every episode of this podcast, I always ask, what is the origin story? How did you get started? Now, you are very young. You're not that old. So it ain't going to take that long. Like, how did Magda Halina go from a freshman in high school pulling pranks on the cheerleaders to the great musician we see today? Now, I don't know if you actually pulled pranks on cheerleaders, but, you know.
they pulled pranks on me. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. Okay. So like I mentioned, my brother has a lot to do with that.
He's a musician as well, right?
Yeah. I grew up in a very musical family. Both my brothers, my older brothers, are insanely talented instrumentalists.
So you're the baby of the family.
I'm the baby of the family.
You're the last one, huh? They saved the best for last, huh?
I'm the youngest.
Look, me and my twin brother, we're the youngest in our family too. So.
Yeah. Oh, you have a twin brother? I didn't know.
You didn't know I had. You know I had a twin.
No, I didn't know.
Come on, like everybody knows that I have a twin. And
so you're telling me at any time you could just swap places and I would have never known?
No. He doesn't look anything like me.
Oh, okay.
No, he doesn't. No. He looks like me, but he's like happens. Really skinny. Okay. He's like a really skinny version of me.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, now I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. So, and I just looked this up this morning because I was like, how long has it been now that I've been doing this whole thing? Mm-hmm. And next month it'll be 5 years.
5 years.
I know, it's crazy. I'm like, what?
They say around 5
under my belt.
Yeah, they say around 5 years is when you really pick it up. Like you really kind of get it. You know what I mean?
And I would say that based on my last few tracks that I've been working on and this like EP that I'm working on, I finally feel like I'm making the music I want to make. Wow. Which is partially the reason I have not wanted to like rush just releasing music. I don't have the biggest catalog that's released right now. Actually, most of my catalog is remixes, like you said, because I'll take the remix opportunity. I want to work on the remix opportunity, but I just still didn't feel like I was making. I got better ears for mixing now, but there was some things that I just felt were missing that I felt like I'm still not quite making the music I want to make yet. So I'm just going to try to be patient.
So going back, like, how did you get started? Like, did you start when you were a kid or what?
So when I was like 18, fresh out of high school, my older brother, my oldest brother, was in like a blues funk band, and he is a bassist, and him and his band would play at this like coffee shop bar in downtown LA every Thursday and just like play for like 3 hours, 4 hours, just like they would jam, they would play a bunch of like bluesy, just old school jams. And so I would go along with him a lot of times. And I did some like musical theater throughout high school or throughout middle school.
You were a theater kid, huh?
In middle school, and then in high school, I transitioned to more like dance and cheer. But
you were a cheerleader?
Yeah, I was.
I would have never guessed that ever.
I thought I told it. Maybe I didn't.
No, I didn't know that.
It. Yeah, I was in dance for a lot of so I was doing dance and musical theater, and I was like Alice in Wonderland in middle school, and it was like musicals, and I would sing. I would get a lot of singing parts. So like it was already kind of known in my family that I like to sing, but I was a little shy about it. And then I would sing with my brothers just around the campfire while they're playing guitar and whatever. And I really enjoyed hanging out with my older brother. So I would go visit him a lot, and I would go to these little gigs that he had all the time. And then he was like, "You want to come sing a couple songs like one of these nights?" And I was like, some Amy Winehouse songs that, we really enjoyed jamming all the time. He's like, "Come on, come sing an Amy Winehouse song whenever you're ready. Like one of these days, like just come do it." And I did it. I still have a video of that performance actually. And I sang with them, and it was like such a good feeling. And my brother was like, "Oh my gosh, that's so good." And ever since that day, I started coming up for a few songs every Thursday. Every Thursday I would come up, and I would come and sing at least 3-4 songs in the night until I started, singing more. And then this went on for like a whole year. I would pick up the tambourine sometimes and the shakers and the triangle, and I'd start getting involved in percussion and then sing harmonies with my brother. And I just started to get a little bit more involved every week. And then we would record the sessions every week. And it was like a tradition that we would record the whole session. Me, my brother, and the drummer, who we're also good friends with, would go back to my brother's place. We would get super stoned, and we would just listen back to the whole night just for fun and just talk about it. And then they heard in the recordings, they like heard me playing percussion and stuff. And my brother was like, "Wait, is that you on the shakers?" And I'm like, yeah, I was just having fun. He's like, "Dude, you got something." I'm like, shut it, whatever. He's like, "No, really, like you got the rhythm, like you know when to stop, you know when to start, like like you don't do too much, like you got an ear, like you got something there." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "Dude, I bet if I taught you some guitar, like I bet if you learned and picked up an instrument, like you would probably learn pretty fast." And I was like, nah, I'm just a singer. Like I just
you
like
had never played an instrument until you were grown.
Till I was about 18, 19. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had dabbled in some drums. Like I had bought like a drum set for fun because someone was selling it for super cheap, and I was like, okay, whatever. So I played like a little bit of drums here and there. But my brother was the one that was like, "No, let me teach you some chords on guitar." And so I started learning how to play some songs on guitar, and I was picking it up pretty fast. He's like, "Dude, like you're more than just a singer. Like you've got something else, and like you can learn how to play." And I got so inspired. So for a whole like 2 years, I was playing guitar every day. I bought my own guitar. Like I started playing guitar every day, and I got super into it. And then I got introduced into the whole world of like electronic music. The band thing, like members of the band ended up moving, and the night at the little coffee shop ended up like coming to an end. And my oldest brother, like he loves making music, but it was more of like a hobby to him. And so I ended up I got introduced into the whole DJ world, going to some of my first like music festivals ever, Lightning in a Bottle and stuff like that. And suddenly I was like super inspired to like, I was like, you know what? If we're not going to do this as like a band, and like, I'm going to do this. Like, I was like I was 18, 19. It was like 2016. that I was like, I'm going to get a DJ controller. I'm going to download FL Studio. Like at the time, I had a friend that gave me everything that I needed to get started and taught me like a little bit about FL Studio. And I was just like for like a whole year, I started learning how to produce and DJ at the same time, like simultaneously. Like I would spend the day working on music, and then at night I would like try and fiddle it with DJing. So I was like simultaneously learning both, like teaching myself both at the same time. And then I just got super inspired by what the songs that I was creating, and I was like, I can do this, like I can do this seriously. And that's really what took off. Ever since then, it just took off for me. And then once I got comfortable with DJing, I started involving myself in the community and just kind of going and checking out shows and gigs, local gigs and stuff like that. So sorry, I thought I was going to sneeze for a second.
No, you good.
Yeah, so if it wasn't for like my brother really unlocking that side of me, I don't think I would have ever like stopped for a minute and recognized myself as anything other than a singer.
Wow, what a beautiful story. Are your parents supportive of your musical endeavors? I would imagine they would be, because now, so there's 3 of you, right?
4, actually. I have an older sister. She lives in Vancouver.
Is she involved in music too?
No, not so much. But her husband is an incredible instrumentalist. And whenever they were like with my brothers, like when we'd have family gatherings, they were all 3 jamming. Like,
so 3 out of the 4 kids are into music. So I would imagine they would be really supportive.
They were supportive. They just didn't know how I could make a living or be really, I mean, they were like tentative at first because obviously my closest brother, like my 2 brothers kind of tried to do it and then didn't really do it that successfully. So they were kind of looking at me like, I know you're talented and I want to support you, but like, you know, your brothers didn't really, you know, make it or find any true success out of it. So I don't know if we quite trust you to like, so I was still like trying to dabble in college, like going to college. I did college for like a year. Like a community college. I was like, just to make them happy. And then eventually I realized, I was like, no, I can't do this. Like I'm just going to work and I'm going to try to do this full time. So there was also this little fire in me that was like, I have to like prove to my parents a little bit that I can find success in this and prove to them that it's worth it. So that's when I started like going out and trying to like, after like a year of DJing at home in my bedroom, I was like, I'm going to try and play some gigs. Like I'm going to try to get some gigs and get comfortable and get involved in the community. So that's what I started doing. And I did actually pick up some gigs that went really well. And then like, you know, some money would come in, and then I released some of my first couple of records that kind of took off. And I got my first label release on Night Records, and then like little like pieces of the puzzle started, like little signs from the universe kept coming in that was like, this is what you're supposed to be doing, you know? And eventually my parents started realizing like, okay, I think she's serious. She's serious, and I think she might be the one in the family that might make it happen. So they really they really became supportive once they started seeing those little things come in here and there that were like, okay, I'm getting gigs, like, you know, I'm getting recognition, like things are happening.
and then you went to Icon. You went to Icon Collective, which is a music college in Los Angeles. And that's a pretty big investment, because Dear Evergreen went there, who I had the privilege of doing an episode with. What is the curriculum like over there? Is it, because it's like a year-long program, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a year long. That's how me and Evergreen met too.
Oh, wow.
That we met there. She was working front desk. She already graduated like before that, but I was doing my year there. That was also part of like because I was playing gigs and stuff, but I was so busy doing the gigs for a bit that I kind of like didn't focus as much on production as I would have liked. And I was like, okay, I think I want to kind of maybe take a little bit of a step back from playing gigs and focus on like upping my skills as a producer, because I knew that was really like what was important to help me reach that next level.
Were your parents supportive in that? Like you going to Icon?
Yeah. So when
by then they were pretty much, she's serious because she's going to Icon.
I pulled out the loan. I'm still paying for it. So when I told them that I was going to make this investment for myself, of course they're 100% supportive, because they're like, okay, she means business. Like they helped me as much as they could, but you know, like I don't come from a family with a lot of money, so I have to come up with it myself. And they actually wanted me to do that because they knew like, okay, going to school for this brings some more legitimacy to what I'm doing as well. So they were more supportive of that. Like, yeah, like get that certificate, like do the damn thing and make it official and try to get some work out of it, you know?
Definitely. Have you kept in touch with the people in your class? I mean, I know you kept in touch, you know, with some people because they gave you some really dope drum sounds, but
yeah. No, a couple people. There's also tons of people that were in other classes that I met in the halls that became really good, and I think lifelong friends now. So tons of people I've connected with that I keep in touch with even still today. And yeah.
Very nice. Very nice. You are an accomplished DJ as well. In fact, that's what you're doing now on your Twitch channel. And you'll do a set that's like hours long. How long does it take to put together a DJ set?
A set that long?
Yeah. Like you'll do a set that's like 2 hours.
Yeah, 3 hours is like
3 hours.
3 hours is like my cap right there. That's what I commit to. I'm committing to 3 hours, and if I do more, that's great, but no less than that. So yeah, it takes a long time. I am constantly digging for new music. So I set aside like every Friday is like the main release day for most music. And so every Friday or every weekend I spend like digging through all the new releases that I have been following for a while. And that takes a long time to just to find music that I love, that speaks to me, and then
ordering it. Right.
Buying it, downloading it, organizing it, putting them in the right folders, and then creating a set list. It all takes multiple hours of my week. But yeah, like from the moment I start streaming, that's like the fun part. I'm like, okay, like let's jam now. Like this is the fun part. I love looking for music.
Yeah, are we going to see production streams back on Twitch? Because you were doing streams where you were like making beats and stuff.
I know.
I want to see those come back, man. I used to love watching you produce on Twitch.
Those are going to come back. They'll come back. I think what happened was like that's how I started doing Twitch, was production streams. And then I started doing it was production streams and some DJing, but I was doing mainly production. And then I did some DJ streams, and then like my channel kind of like blew up out of nowhere. And I started getting a lot more viewers, and it kind of made me like, I don't know if I want to.
So you started thinking, so I'm going to tell you what happened, right? So you started thinking in terms of like, okay, clearly this is what people are coming for. So I'm going to keep doing this, right? But here's the thing, you don't have to do Yeah, you don't have to do a production stream every week. It can be like every once in a while. Like you could do a production stream like once every quarter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can say, you know what, today I'm going to do a production, just going to be a special stream. In fact, if you only do it like once a quarter, like 3 or 4 times a year, it's more special because you can kind of hype it. You know, you can kind of say, take a sneak peek into what I've been working on.
I guess that's kind of what I got a little bit nervous because I'm like, I don't know if I want this many people watching my like process and making music because it's a little nerve wracking. And then I start to like, I mean, I'm sure I'd be totally fine and I'm going to do it and I'm going to get back into it and it's all good. But I just got a little bit nervous because I was like, oh man, like I started off with like 10, 15 viewers on my production streams. And then it's like all of a sudden I'm getting like 50, 60, 70 viewers. And I'm like, I don't know if I want that many people like watching me make music. Like it's a little bit too much pressure. It's a little nerve wracking. I don't know how I'm going to keep up with the chat and like all of these things that I was like, I think I'm just going to stick to like DJ streams for now. And then I'll come back to the whole production thing later. I just got nervous a little bit. I don't know. Like there's just judgmental people but like at the same time, I've never really encountered anyone that was that judgmental. I mean, I've had maybe like 1 or 2 people kind of be like, oh, you know, you can just click this and click that and like you'll get the same result. And I'm like, okay, cool, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, I get people. I got people like that in my chat too.
Yeah. But I'm like, cool though. Like, yeah, teach me. Like, I want to create a space where we can bounce ideas off each other. Or like, I've actually learned so much from streaming because producers will jump in and be like, hey, you know that this plugin's available for free right now to download, and like this is how you can use it to do this. And I'm like, oh my god, wonderful! I would have never known. Like, let's go check it out right now. Or some
producers don't like that. Like some streamers don't like that. I wasn't one of them when I was streaming. I wasn't. I used to like it when people would, you know, recommend things to me. Now, sometimes it got a little overbearing. There were a couple of people who would just be like, okay, like some people, they didn't know when was when. You know what I'm saying? So you got people like that. But I used to like it half the stuff that I use now, I learned about from somebody telling me about it, you know? Yeah. Some of those, it's like sometimes it was you, like who would be in the chat, who would let me know about a plugin or something. In fact, I always joke about how it was you and Aunt Shay, who I had last week on, and who got me into Ableton. I mean, you guys are like, man, you need to get on Ableton, Craig. And so I downloaded it. And I remember I did a stream of me using Ableton for the first time. And you were the first person in the chat. You're like, oh, I gotta see this.
I know, and that was us like mainly giving you a hard time, but you know.
And you were a total mama hen. You were like, okay, Craig, all right, come over here. You know, and it was very helpful. I mean, like
the only reason why I was like the helping hand in that situation was because I knew it was like the first time you were using it.
Yeah, I never used it. And most of what I know about Ableton, I learned from you. Like you taught me most of what I know about Ableton, like outside of what I just learned on my own. But like, yeah, it was a very interesting time me learning Ableton, and you were right there. And so like it was I used
fun
to always,
and exciting for me.
Yeah, I used to always tell people that you were the very first follower that I had on Twitch. And,
oh my goodness.
In the early days of Twitch, when I only had like 2 or 3 people in the chat, I would spend like an hour. It'd be you and maybe one other person in the chat. And that was how my Twitch stream started.
You didn't even have a camera for a while.
I didn't have a camera. I didn't.
But I could tell from your voice, like that you were just like this genuine, like funny, just really down to earth guy that was like, this guy deserves recognition. Like I wanted to support your streams too. And I was learning stuff too. Like you're an incredible songwriter. And you can write songs so fast. Like for me, it takes forever to write a song that I'm proud of, you know?
Dude, I get frustrated writing songs. I get writer's block real bad. And I have to sometimes just straight up cheat. Like a lot of times I cheat. Like I'll use Master Writer That's what I use. And, it works for me. And I feel like if I can get away with using that, then hey, whatever, I'll do it. I mean, so I definitely take a lot of shortcuts. Now, you have a lot of dates coming up. You have a lot of gigs that you're doing. You're doing Understated in LA. Talk a little bit about what you have coming up.
Yeah, for sure. So on the 31st of August, I don't know when this is going to air, but on the 31st of August, I'll be headlining Space Taco at the Basement in Pomona. Space Taco is like one of my favorite little communities in this industry. They're Pomona based. And I will be joining them and headlining a set. So I'm super excited for that. And then September, the first weekend of September, I'll be doing Off the Grid Camp Out, which is going to be playing my first camping festival this year. Super excited for that. Tons of really awesome, respectable names on the lineup. It's going to be in the desert, the location to be announced exactly. But it will be in like the Apple Valley, SoCal desert area. So that's coming up soon. And then September 17th, I will be in Los Angeles for Understated. Super excited for that. We got Oliver Dollar headlining that one. And then I will be adding more dates. But in December 3rd, I will be coming to San Diego for the first time, which I'm super excited about because I really have not spent much time in San Diego. It's always been like such a trek to get out there, but I've never played a show out there. This will be my first time, and I'm playing at Spin Nightclub, which is like one of the biggest clubs in San Diego, and I'll be playing direct support for Kyrian, her tour with Anjuna Deep. Super excited for that.
Wow. You have a packed schedule from here to the end of the year because you're talking about December and all that kind of stuff.
I'll definitely be adding some dates before then, but that's for sure like confirmed for out then. And then, more things will come along for sure in between. But yeah, I'm super excited.
Definitely. Well, Magda Halina, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for doing this. And I know for a fact that you are going to be a huge star one day, and you're already on your way there.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate you for having me on and for all of your support, like since the very beginning. It's the people like you since day one that really kept me going. And it's especially during the pandemic, during such a difficult time when nothing felt certain, everything was so unknown, what was going to happen. It's the people like you that supported me that really kept me going and kept me inspired.
Likewise. Because
hell yeah.
I mean, we have laughed together, we've cried together, we've talked about everything under the sun together, and this has been a really cool ride. And the pandemic was horrible, but one of the few good things out of it was getting to know you and so many other people in this community. So Absolutely. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on. This was a blast. It went by so fast.
This was actually the longest interview by far.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah, by far. Yeah, Bad Snacks I certainly thought would be the longest, but this one is definitely much longer. So
hell yeah. Well, sweet. Thank you. I really enjoyed this.
And that is going to be it for this episode of Studio Chatter. Until next time, you all stay safe and stay blessed.